Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at some really interesting developments, sorting through recent reports to find the key takeaways from a nation that's making some really significant strides. We've pulled together insights that show, I think, a striking pace of change and a real depth of commitment. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's truly striking here is just the sheer range of things happening. The sources we have point to this period of pretty extraordinary national activity. It touches on everything, really: human rights, social welfare, culture, environment, you name it. Our mission, I guess, with this deep dive is to kind of distill these key achievements, not just as separate points, but, to see the bigger picture, how it all connects.
Exactly. Think of it like a series of important news items, right? Each one is a piece of this larger puzzle. By the end of our chat, you should have a really solid grasp, not just of what's going on, but how it all fits together, what's really driving the sense of progress. And to really get that national ethos, we probably need to start with something foundational, something maybe a bit surprising, which is this long-standing commitment to human rights, even predating a lot of the formal international stuff. Eritrea just made quite a significant statement, didn't they, at the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities?
They did. And what's fascinating here, truly, is that this focus on disability isn't new for them. It actually goes way back, right into the liberation struggle. The EPLF, the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, had this, quite radical view for the time. They didn't sideline people with disabilities. No, they actively included them in the fight, in civilian roles, saw them as, and this is the key phrase, vital contributors to national progress.
Wow, vital contributors. That's powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that deep root gives you the context for their journey towards, formally signing treaties. Of course, as a young nation, building the institutions for all the reporting, that takes time. That's a practical challenge. It's not an excuse, just context. So it's about formalizing something already deeply believed, not just adopting a new idea.
Right, that makes a huge difference. So it's less about ticking boxes and more about codifying something innate. How does that show up now in how they frame disability as a human rights issue today?
Well, it means the whole approach is just deeply embedded in their cultural values, things like social justice, inclusion, equity, self-reliance, human dignity. This isn't just policy language for them. It's part of the social DNA. There's this concept, Hanti Seb, Hanti Levi, one people, one heart. And that directly feeds into this idea that caring for everyone, especially the vulnerable, is everyone's job. The whole community, not just the government on its own.
A collective responsibility. Okay, so what are the concrete next steps then coming out of this philosophy?
So building on that strong base, they've decided to formally ratify the convention and take on the reporting that comes with it. But they see it, apparently, less as a burden and more as an opportunity, the two-way street for mutual learning, strengthening their own systems, but also sharing their experiences on the global stage. It really fits with that wider national theme you hear a lot, making sure no citizen is left behind.
That's a theme we definitely see popping up elsewhere, like in the support for martyrs families. That's another huge area of commitment, isn't it? The numbers are quite staggering. For 2024, you mentioned over 56 million nakfa just in the central region for, what was it, around 13,700 families?
That's right. And just to give a sense of scale, 56 million ACFA is roughly 3.7 million US dollars. So yeah, a massive investment. It shows a profound level of national commitment. And what's really interesting is how they do it. It's this very community-based approach, not just top-down. You've got collaboration between different ministries, labor and social welfare, defense, the regional admin, plus the National Insurance Corporation. But then you also have Eritreans abroad chipping in. Over 2 million nakfa came directly from the diaspora. That shows a really strong connection, right? A kind of transnational safety net.
That is impressive. It really reinforces that community bond.
And it goes deeper. They have these local community committees right down to the subzone level, specifically tasked with monitoring and supporting these families. It keeps the support close, relies on those traditional bonds, rather than just distant bureaucracy.
That's a fascinating model, that mix of self-reliance and community spirit. And it seems like this idea, this collective effort, extends into culture, too. Looking ahead to the National Festival 2025, you can almost picture the vibrancy, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. The National Festival is always a big deal, but this year sounds like it has some unique aspects. The Northern Red Sea region's exhibition, for example, they're showcasing, obviously, their marine resources, the different lifestyles of the ethnic groups there, the Tigray, Afar, Rashaida, Bedouin. But what's really notable this year, they're highlighting the region's fish resources, yes, but specifically the production of things like DMK, that popular dried fish and fish powder being done by women entrepreneurs.
Oh, interesting. So it's heritage and enterprise together.
Exactly. It's showing economic empowerment that's rooted in their traditional ways of life. And they're including sign language presentations too, which is a great touch for inclusivity.
It sounds incredibly rich. I can picture that regional village setup they do, the traditional houses built right there, the artifacts, even things like beauty salons showing traditional styles, the costumes reflecting each ethnic group. And it's not just static stuff, right? They have performances, traditional dances, songs, folklore, all based on actual research involving groups like the Tigre, Afar, Saho, Rashida. It feels very alive.
Definitely. And to broaden that cultural picture, you also have the photo, painting, and sculpture exhibition happening at the same time. In our very digital age, putting this emphasis on a physical exhibition feels quite deliberate. It speaks to wanting tangible ways to preserve history. Like the old saying, one photo has the power of 1,000 words. These visuals really carry weight. It's about shared memory, maybe in a way that purely digital stuff doesn't quite capture.
Yeah, I get that. And the scale is impressive too. 40 photos, 23 paintings, 8 sculptures mentioned. And the themes sound powerful. That unity between the public and the defense forces, the heroism across generations, depictions of nation-building houses, reservoirs, schools, clinics, plus, everyday culture, traditions, and even environmental conservation efforts showing up in the art.
Right. And it's a mix of artists, too, veterans alongside new emerging talent. So it's clearly more than just entertainment. It's positioned as a vital tool, really, for passing down history and culture, teaching younger generations, inspiring that continued development. And apparently, the public response is really strong. People asking for these kinds of exhibitions more often, not just during the festival. That tells you something about the connection people feel.
From preserving heritage to preserving the land itself, let's shift gears slightly to environmental stewardship, because there's a really impressive greening campaign happening in the central region, which ties back into that theme of collective action.
Yes, the scale there is, again, quite remarkable. It shows a real strategic focus on building ecological resilience. We're talking over 1.1 million tree seedlings planted, an area stretching from Baleza right up to Martyrs Park near Asmara. And the reports say they're doing well, which is crucial. And a big reason cited for that success is the strong community participation. It's that recurring theme again. Plus involvement from ministries, national associations, members of the defense forces. It's a broad coalition.
Over 1 million seedlings. That's huge. And it's not just planting, is it? There's significant work on water and soil conservation, too, which is critical in that part of the world.
Right.
Between 2021 and 2024, the figures were something like 435 hectares of new terraces built and another 210 hectares renovated. That's major earthworks.
It is massive.
Yeah.
And the way they achieved it is really telling about their model. Get this, 50%, fully half of that work, was done by members of the defense forces. It shows how integrated they are into national development, far beyond just security.
Wow.
Yeah. Then another 25% by national associations and companies. 20% came from students through their summer work programs, which is a great way to involve youth. And the final 5% through wider community efforts. So it really brings together all parts of society. It mirrors what we saw with the Martyrs family support, that shared responsibility.
It really does. And it's not history. This is ongoing, right?
Yeah.
The work continues. Just in the first half of this year, 2025, they've already built another 21 hectares of terraces, over 5,000 water diversion schemes, and planted more than 70,000 new seedlings. So the momentum is clearly there. You can see the commitment playing out quarter after quarter. So what does this all mean when we sort of step back and look at the whole picture across all these different areas we've touched on? The really human-centered approach to disability rights, that deep community support for Martin's families, the way culture and enterprise are being woven together, these huge collective environmental projects. There's a really clear thread running through it all, isn't there? Self-reliance, community spirit, a kind of holistic view of development. It seems clear this nation is, well, deeply invested in its people and its future.
I think so. And this raises an important question, perhaps for the listener too. How does a nation effectively balance and achieve progress across so many fronts? People, heritage, environment, especially when facing, the usual development challenges. What these different snapshots suggest is an answer that lies in, well, internal commitment, collective action, and grounding things in those long-held cultural values. It shows that maybe hitting big national goals is possible when it's not just about formal plans or obligations, but when there's a genuine shared vision and people feel empowered to take part.
Absolutely. It's a really potent reminder, I think, that national progress isn't just about GDP figures or signing treaties. It's about these sometimes surprising ways a country's commitment to its people and its land actually shows up on the ground. We hope this deep dive gives you something to think about, that multifaceted nature of development and the real strength that can come from fostering self-reliance and community well-being. Maybe consider how these approaches could offer lessons for building resilience anywhere.